Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are here for another one of your questions about work. And this one is actually from, somebody in whom, who I've known for a long time, who's been watching us since the beginning and giving us great feedback, who asked not to be identified. So you know who you are. And for those of you who are watching for the first time, Minn and I are startup investors who focus on the future of work. And every day we tackle one of your questions about work. So Minn.
And today is day 193. Wow, Roy, getting up there. And this is an interesting one, which is how do I make a move from consulting to working at a company?
Yeah, so I think this was in the context of, going to some smaller organization where you might have leadership responsibility. But the general thing of a lot of people are consultants. They're hired by another company, and that company is their client, or they have their own individual shop where they provide advice. And in an ideal world, the consultant feels like a member of the team, and so they're not just. I used to be a management consultant, and we used to kind of claim to do implementation, but really we just lob in PowerPoints that kind of repeated what the client said to us in nicer words with charts, and be like, "Peace, you guys figure it out." And that's no way to do it. But let's assume you're doing the best version of consulting, which is you feel like part of the team, you are, delivering on some of the work. I think the critical, inescapable difference, there can be many differences, but the critical, inescapable difference is when you're a consultant, your identity is not the company's identity, meaning you don't necessarily carry their name in your professional biography. Their triumphs don't necessarily reflect on you and vice versa. But the second you decide to go in-house or take on a leadership role, all of a sudden you're assuming ownership for the outcome. And that's a psychological shift that can matter to you as an individual. Sometimes people are like, yeah, I never realized how hard it would be. Great. But even if you did realize how hard it was going to be because you'd been in their shoes before, it's important in your ability to collaborate as an interdependent member of the team to demonstrate that it's about more than just knowing what the right thing is to do. It's the heart to actually get it done and deliver for the company. And sometimes that's about picking the right role. Sometimes it's about how you do the work. Sometimes it's about the words you use. But that to me is the critical differentiator. And then also just assuming there's going to be 1,000 things that you didn't realize were not very much fun to do that the company has to do, especially in small organizations. And so I'll be curious for, views from others, but sometimes you got to order the whiteboard. And that's the kind of thing that actually really does matter to the success of an organization, even though it's not very fun to do. What do you think, Minn?
Yeah, well, and the part of the question that was asking about how do you make that transition, I think that can be a little daunting at first, but then the reality is also that oftentimes the consultants are experts in a particular domain or a field, and I think there's opportunities to create your own role or craft the role that is ideal for you. And so I don't know, I'm thinking of someone who we worked with on the Bloomer Beta team, Lacey Kessler, who was a consultant on several low code, no code projects and helped our team, learn the ins and outs of Webflow. And she was a great teacher in addition to being an expert in her particular domain. And then more recently, she joined a company, that low code startup company, as their head of education and programming around that, which I felt was a great example of marrying her skill set and a passion in a domain that she had a lot of relevant expertise. And so I think that's that's an example of, I think, how one can make that transition.
I love that. And there are lots of reasons to do one versus the other, consulting versus being at a company, but maybe we'll tackle that for another day. I think for today, that's enough. Not advice. And if you're watching us for the first time, the reason we call it This Is Not Advice is because we're not telling you do this in a certain way. We're just sharing our experiences with you, and you're the one who's ultimately going to decide.
And submit your questions wherever you see them. Find Roy on Twitter, follow him, and turn on your notifications for more. And
Minn too. Thanks, Minn. To be continued.
Bye, Roy.